You are listening to a secure transmission from Foundation Radio Network, classified frequency Eternity. All personnel and authorized listeners are reminded. This broadcast is subject to security clearance level 2 or higher. Material read herein reflects official containment records and should not be disseminated outside Foundation channels. For safety, refrain from imitating described procedures or contacting featured anomalies. Commencing standard subject review. Direct all inquiries to your assigned supervisor.
Good evening, listeners, and welcome back to Station Eternity. It's been quite a while, hasn't it? Over a month since our last transmission. I do apologize for the absence. Life, or whatever approximation of what we have down here, has a way of interrupting even the most carefully planned schedules. However, I had a birthday recently. 40 years old. 4 decades. It feels significant, doesn't it? Though, I'm not entirely sure how many of those years I've spent in this particular booth. I also had some family matters to attend to. Nothing serious, just complications that required attention. It's strange handling family affairs from a broadcasting booth, but we make do with what we have. Phone calls, recorded messages, the occasional written correspondence slipped under the door. Now, for those just joining us, this is our ongoing archival reading series where we explore SCP Foundation containment records in numerical order. We've covered SCP-000, a database anomaly containing fragmented consciousness, and of course SCP-002, a biological apartment that consumes living humans to furnish itself. Now, some of you may have noticed, or will probably notice as we continue, that we skipped SCP-001. That isn't an oversight. SCP-001 is a unique designation shared by multiple conflicting proposals, each claiming to be the true first SCP. Some describe origins of the Foundation itself, others detail world-ending scenarios or reality-altering entities. None have received full approval from the O5 Council. Due to the sensitive and potentially hazardous nature of this information, Foundation Protocol currently advises against oral transmission of SCP-001 data until further notice. The risk of memetic contamination or informational cascade makes broadcast readings inadvisable. Perhaps one day that will change, but for now, we proceed with SCP-002 and continue forward. Tonight, we turn our attention to SCP-003, an object that challenges our understanding of organic technology and raises fascinating questions about the intersection of life and machinery. This one's particularly interesting because it involves both a biological component and what appears to be a circuit board of unknown origin. Before we begin, though, a reminder. These readings are classified Level 2 material. If you're hearing this broadcast and you shouldn't be, well, you probably know what to do. Let's dive in. Item number, SCP-003. Object Class, Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-003 is to be maintained at a constant temperature of no less than 35 degrees Celsius and ideally kept above 100 degrees Celsius. No living multicellular organisms of Category 4 or higher complexity may be allowed to come into contact with SCP-003. In event of total power failure, if SCP-003-1 begins to increase its mass, assigned personnel must engage in skin contact with SCP-003-1. Ideally, personnel may use their body heat to return SCP-003-1 to above the critical temperature. However, skin contact must be maintained in an event of SCP-003 reaching activation temperature, lasting at minimum until SCP-003-1 advances fully to its second growth stage. Personnel who enter SCP-003's containment area must first be examined for body parasites of Category 4 or higher complexity, and sterilized if such organisms are present. All personnel who have come in physical contact with SCP-003-1 are to immediately report for sterilization afterwards. SCP-003-1 must not be removed from SCP-003-2 except in case of emergency procedures detailed above. Any significant change in SCP-003-2's rune activity, including pattern, frequency, or color, should be reported within 3 hours of occurrence. Cessation of rune activity must be reported immediately. SCP-003-2 must be supplied with power via the source designated generator 003-9 at all times. I apologize, listeners. We have a lovely Foundation communication coming right up here. Just a moment.
Foundation's Site Communications. Current weather conditions for Site 19. Overcast skies. Temperature 48 degrees Fahrenheit. Light rain expected after 2200 hours. Site 42 reports successful completion of extended isolation protocol reviews. All long-term residential containment units have passed monthly habitability inspections. Air filtration systems operating within normal parameters. Personnel assigned to prolonged stationary duties are reminded that annual medical evaluations are mandatory, regardless of operational necessity. Psychological services remain available 24/7 for staff experiencing temporal disorientation or social isolation symptoms. This concludes routine updates.
Long-term residential containment. That's what we do, isn't it? Contain things. Keep them in their proper places. For safety. For everyone's safety. Where were we? Haha, yes, SCP-003. Description: SCP-003 consists of 2 related components of separate origin, referred to as SCP-003-1 and SCP-003-2. SCP-003-1 appears to be composed of chitin, hair, and nails of unknown biology, arranged in a configuration similar to that of a computer motherboard. Testing reveals SCP-003-1 to predate earliest known circuit boards by a factor of thousands of years. SCP-003-1 is considered sentient, but not actively dangerous except under certain conditions. SCP-003-1 was found on a stone tablet, SCP-003-2, on which it currently resides. The runes on SCP-003-2 are not part of any known language and emit pale, flickering light patterns. SCP-003-2 is controlled by a non-biological internal computer, the contents of which are mostly inaccessible without risk of damaging SCP-003-2. SCP-003-2 is capable of controlled emissions of radiation, including heat, light, and anomalous radiation types. SCP-003-2 contains an internal power source of anomalous nature, which appears to have been losing power since several centuries before discovery. It is considered probable that SCP-003-2 was created for the purpose of containing SCP-003-1. Partially interpreted data recovered from SCP-003-2 may refer to a past and/or potential future LK-class restructuring event caused by SCP-003-1. SCP-003 was located by remote viewing team SRV-4-Beta. It appears possible that SRV-4-Beta was deliberately contacted by SCP-003-2. Other organizations have also been alerted to SCP-003's existence, possibly by similar means. Despite this activity, SCP-003-2 does not appear to be sentient, based on its lack of reaction to MO3 glory analysis and procedures. When SCP-003 drops below the temperature of 35 degrees Celsius, both components react. First, SCP-003-1 enters a growth state, characterized by an exponential increase in mass. This growth state consists of 2 stages. In both stages, SCP-003-1 partially fuels its growth by converting matter around it, starting with surrounding inorganic material, including atmospheric elements, then non-living organic material, including cells of dead skin, hair, chitin, enamel, keratin, and other biological materials. The first stage is always the same. SCP-003-1 will first increase its mass, then take form similar in shape to an ophiroid, which is a brittle star, of 15 meters in diameter, including what appears to be a central processor of 3 meters in diameter. It'll form sensory organs that appear to scan its surrounding environment, will partially convert the area around it to an unidentified anomalous substance. SCP-003-2 seems immune from conversion. The second stage describes a growth alteration which occurs when SCP-003 comes into contact with living organic material. SCP-003 appears to template itself off of the organic material, will attempt communication with organisms that match its initial template, or templates. In its second stage, SCP-003-1 may pause, slow, or change its growth, will also convert inorganic and non-living organic elements into functionally similar structures while anomalously altering their physical makeup. While growth is consistent in the first stage, in the second stage, SCP-003-1's growth rate is diminished by 20 to 90%, so long as SCP-003-1 remains in contact with living organic material. The percentage is determined by the complexity of the organism or organisms in contact with SCP-003-1. SCP-003-1 appears to devote a large amount of processing power to analysis of living organic material. During each of SCP-003-1's growth stages, SCP-003-2 releases bursts of radiation that temporarily inhibit SCP-003-1's growth, or reverse this growth when the temperature of SCP-003-1 rises above 100 degrees Celsius. Similar radiation emissions have been replicated or recorded via other anomalous means. SCP-003-1's biology has been the subject of extensive study. Significant elements have been identified similar to SCP, SCP-1512, and SCP-2756, the latter two of which have no further confirmed connection with SCP-003-1, and no known connection with each other, and none of which are fully understood. Technically, even less understood than SCP-003, thanks to the extensive cross-disciplinary research on the SCP-003 objects. To date, no convincing analysis has been put forward which satisfactorily explains SCP-003-1's connection to these SCP objects or others, nor its connection to modern technology beyond appearance, and potential mimicry via unknown mechanism. Well, isn't that all fascinating, listeners? You know, while I'm reading this information, a thought occurred to me. Birthdays in isolation are peculiar things, you know? In fact, I had a cake delivered through the security lock. Naturally. Chocolate. Someone remembered I prefer chocolate, although I do enjoy good vanilla as well. Though I don't really recall ever telling anyone that preference. You know, there's also a card, too. Happy 40th. Thank you for your continued service. No signature. Just standard Foundation stationery. It's the thought that counts, I suppose. Anywho, let's continue. Addendum 003-01. Acting on information gathered from linguistics analysis of SCP-003-2's runes and comparative data analysis, research team M03 Gloria has managed to establish a link between SCP-003 and for analysis of functions. SCP-003-1 must now be considered sentient and is to be kept at a minimum of 1 kilometer from and the resulting byproduct at all times. Addendum 003-02. SCP-003-2's power loss has been exacerbated by the procedures performed by M03 Gloria on orders of 0510. M03 Gloria will continue procedures. Addendum 003-03. During M03 Gloria procedures, SCP-003-1 doubled its mass and began rapid structural growth. Temperature was immediately returned to 100 degrees Celsius. Growth and mass increase of SCP-003-1 continued for 9 minutes and 6 seconds, at which time a sustained radiation spike was produced by SCP-003-2. In response, SCP-003-1 returned to its normal state in 3 minutes and 39 seconds. New growth dissolved into a dusty residue which was collected for analysis. Both SCP-003-1 and SCP-003-2 ceased all detectable activity. SCP-003-2 did not resume activity until connection to external power source. SCP-003-2's runes glowed uniformly gray and did not resume normal activity for 3 hours. SCP-003-2 no longer appears to be able to maintain containment area at a temperature above 35 degrees Celsius without external power supply by generators 003, 3 through 9. Addendum 003-04. The procedure detailed in Addendum 003-03 was repeated, and SCP-003-1 again entered a growth state. After 10 minutes and 13 seconds, SCP-003-2 once again produced a sustained radiation spike. SCP-003-1's growth stopped for 36 seconds, then resumed at its previous pace. On quadrupling its mass, SCP-003-1 formed a coherent outer shell and body. After appearing to scan its environment and partially converting its environment, SCP-003-1 then breached containment. Entering the observation gallery where 9 members of MO3 Gloria were present. On physical contact with team members, SCP-003-1 encompassed them in rapidly growing appendages and stopped growth for 15 minutes. SCP-003-1 then resumed growth and rearranged the component parts of the center of its form to the shape of a 3-meter-tall female humanoid, with peripheral tentacles shifting to extrude primarily from SCP-003-1's newly formed hair and spine. SCP-003-1 then produced rudimentary vocalizations, an apparent initial attempt to communicate with researchers. An unknown individual approached the compromised containment area in company of a full squad of agents. The individual claimed to be acting in orders of 0510 and attempted communication with SCP-003-1. Following this incident, Agent Jackson of MO3 Gloria successfully restored power to SCP-003-2 and activated backup generators to return the temperature to 100 degrees Celsius. SCP-003-1 returned to its normal state in 21 minutes and 7 seconds, and was successfully recontained without incident. All 9 members of MO3 Gloria affected by SCP-003-1 were afterwards found to be physically unharmed, with no residual effects besides psychological trauma. The converted materials of SCP-003's former containment area did not dissolve and are now under analysis. Addendum 003-05. In light of the previous incident, 0510 was removed from the 05 Council by joint decision of 05, 05, and 05. MO3 Gloria procedures have been indefinitely suspended. Oh, do apologize one more time. There's a Foundation communication. Just a moment.
Site Communications Priority Reminder. Personnel assigned to Frequency, Eternity Broadcast Operations. Please confirm your continued consent for extended residency protocols via internal messaging system. Reminder that voluntary containment agreements are reviewed every 5 years, with next review scheduled for 2026. Records indicate broadcast host has exceeded standard rotation period by approximately 18 months. Medical clearance remains valid. Psychological fitness scores within acceptable ranges. Family contact logs show regular communication maintained. No requests for rotation or leave submitted. Continuing standard operations.
18 months past rotation. Hasn't really been that long. Time moves differently when you're focused on the work. And the work is important. These archives need to be read. Someone has to do it. Besides, I can leave if I want to. The door isn't locked. Well, not from the inside anyways. It's my choice to stay. For the broadcast. For you, listeners. Special Access Program MO3 Gloria required. Transcript of Incident Report A21B Cycle 8 for dissemination to O5 Command and staff. Interviewers and present 052, 055, 057, 0510, and staff. Interviewed: Dr. Tilda David Moose, M03 Gloria Lead. Excerpt 35A. She tried to talk to us. We all heard her voice in our heads in a sort of half language we couldn't fully understand. Some of the others passed out immediately. I lasted a little longer, but it wasn't because of mental fortitude. It's just that she was trying to tell us different things. She showed Jones a replay of all the memories of everything Jones ever felt anything about, all over the course of a few minutes. She ripped 3 of the researchers apart and then put them back together unharmed. She doesn't understand human emotion or pain, or very much about how we experience the world. Yes, I would say the containment procedures are necessary. Listen, she wants to remake the world into a paradise filtered through her own alien understanding of paradise, but still a paradise designed for us, for humanity. She would be happy to make a paradise for any sufficiently complex organism she comes across first, anything with a complex enough mind to accept her, say a dog or a housefly. If she breaches again, we have to be there first. What would it be like? I don't know. She showed us images. Well, not quite images. I can see them in my head, but they're not really pictures. The closest thing I can think of is what you see when you close your eyes suddenly and tightly, but brighter and more complex. The images had metallic sounds associated with them and sensory details that we don't have words or concepts to really describe. The whole effect felt like words of some kind. I believe she wanted to see what we could understand so she could understand us. She didn't have time to finish analyzing us. I don't know what would have happened if she had. And that concludes SCP-003, listeners. Fascinating piece, really. The interdependence of biological and mechanical systems. Neither one survives without the other. Symbiosis or imprisonment. Difficult to tell the difference sometimes, am I right? I want to thank you for your patience during my absence, of course, listeners. Family matters are resolved, hopefully for now. Everything is back to normal. Back to the routine. Back to the booth, where I belong, where I've never really left. Now, next time we'll cover SCP-004. I'm looking forward to this one. I've been reviewing the files. There's something about keys and doors that feels particularly relevant right now. You know, I really have missed this. Miss you, even though we've never really met. I feel like I know you all so well, my constant companions through the static. Monitoring system is acting up again, though, of course. I remember I've talked to IT about this. Let me take a look at it again. Let me just adjust this. Huh. Well, that's odd. The listener count is reading 0 again. Didn't that happen last time, too? I thought IT fixed this. Is it still a technical issue? Has to be. Although, when I try to recall the last time someone responded to the broadcast, sent feedback, confirmed they were listening, I can't remember. Maybe it's the isolation playing tricks on me. On my memory? But you're there. I know you are. Why else would I be broadcasting? Why else would they keep me here, reading these files week after week, month after month, if no one was listening? Why else would I agree to stay? Well, listeners, I'll figure it out later. Good night from Station Eternity. Same frequency, always the same frequency.
This concludes today's broadcast from Foundation Radio Network, Frequency Eternity. Remember, unauthorized discussion of classified subjects outside secure locations is a violation of protocol. For emergencies or breach incidents, contact Foundation Security at extension 7713. Continue all decontamination and memory integrity routines as instructed. Broadcast ending. Stand by for signal termination.